You ever read something that just feels wobbly? You know, like a poorly designed building that might fall apart at any moment? That's what unclear communication is like. But what if you had the architect's handbook? What if you could see language not as a bunch of stuffy, confusing rules, but as a set of really powerful building materials? Well, that's what we're going to do. Let's open up the handbook and see how we can build sentences that are clear, sturdy, and maybe even a little beautiful.
All right, here is our blueprint for this session. First up, we're going to lay the foundation and frame. That's the absolute essential core. Then we'll get into adding color and detail to really bring it to life. After that, we'll start connecting the rooms to create a nice flow. And to wrap it all up, we'll put on the final touches for that extra bit of efficiency and emotion. By the time we're done here, you're going to be the master architect of your own words.
Every single great structure out there starts with two things, right? A solid foundation to build on and a sturdy frame to give it shape. Well, in the world of sentences, that means we're talking about our nouns and our verbs. Let's dig in and see how these two work together.
Okay, so nouns are the what of your sentence. Think of them as the concrete slab you pour. It could be a person, like Shakespeare, a place, maybe Delhi, or even a big idea, like freedom. Verbs, on the other hand, they're the doing. They're the steel frame that creates the action and gives the whole structure its entire purpose.
And here is that partnership in action. Super simple, right? Jury, that's our noun, our solid foundation. And gave, that's our verb. It's the action, the frame that's holding everything together. You literally can't have one without the other. This is the non-negotiable core of any sentence you'll ever build.
But, even the best architects can run into some snags. These are the common construction flaws you'll want to watch out for. With nouns, it's usually things like incorrect plurals or messing up capitalization. With verbs, the classic mistake is subject-verb disagreement, saying he go instead of he goes. They might seem like small things, but trust me, they can create little cracks in your foundation.
Okay, so we've got our foundation and our frame. It's functional for sure, but it's not very interesting, is it? Now it's time for the fun part. Let's add the design elements that make our building unique and appealing, the color and the detail.
And this is where adjectives and adverbs come into play. A great way to think about it is that adjectives are the paint you use on your nouns. They describe the what. Adverbs, on the other hand, they add detail to your verbs. They describe the doing. They're the things that answer questions like how, when, or where something happened.
Look at how this works in a real sentence. Red is our adjective. It's literally painting a picture of the noun, dress. And beautifully, that's our adverb. It's modifying the verb sings, telling us how she sings. See that? Those two simple words just brought the whole sentence to life. And just like with paint colors, there are some combinations you want to avoid. That double comparison, more better, is a really common flaw. Another one is using an adjective when you actually need an adverb, like saying, she sings sweet. It should be sweetly because you're describing the action. It's all about matching the right tool to the right job.
So we've built some pretty solid rooms now, but we need to connect them. I mean, a building is only useful if you can actually move through it logically, right? And that's the job of our next set of tools.
Let's talk about prepositions. These are basically our placement tools. They tell us where things are in relation to each other. They build the spatial and the time-based logic of our sentence, answering those questions like where and when.
Here are two perfect everyday examples. On tells us the spatial relationship between the book and the table. Simple. And at tells us the time relationship between her going to school and, well, the time. They're such simple words, but they create a whole world of context.
So if prepositions are placing things inside a room, then conjunctions are the hallways that connect entire rooms together. Let's build one right now. We start with one complete idea. She stayed home. Okay, now we add our conjunction, our hallway word, because, and then we connect it to a second complete idea. It was raining. And just like that, we've built a bigger, more complex structure that has a really clear cause and effect relationship.
But hey, be careful with these connectors. Using the wrong preposition, like saying married with instead of married to, can make your sentence just sound off. And a really common error with conjunctions is using to when you only need one, like starting a sentence with although and then throwing in a but later on. That's kind of like building a hallway that just leads straight into a wall. All right, our structure is built, it's painted, and it's all connected. Now it's time for the final touches, the little details that add efficiency and a bit of personality. This is the stuff that makes a building feel like a home. Pronouns are like using prefabricated components. Think about it. Instead of building the word Ravi over and over and over again, you can just slot in the prefab part, he. It's incredibly efficient, and you've got different types for different jobs. Personal ones like I and she, and demonstrative ones like this and that.
But you gotta install those prefab parts correctly. The its versus its confusion is an absolute classic flaw. It trips up so many people. And so is using the wrong case. It should always be I went to school, not me went to school. Getting these right makes sure your sentence is clean and professional.
And last but not least, we have our doorbells and our alarms. Interjections are these short little bursts of emotion. Words like wow or oh or oops. They aren't really structurally necessary, but man, do they signal feeling and grab some attention.
Now, the biggest flaw with interjections is just using them too much. Seriously, if you're constantly ringing the doorbell, people are gonna start to ignore it. It is way better to save them for when you really, really need to make an impact.
And there you have it. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, conjunctions, pronouns, and interjections. This isn't just some boring list of grammar terms. No way. This is your toolkit. This is your supply depot. You are the architect. Every single time you write an email or a report or even just a quick text message, you are building something. You've got the blueprint we just went over, and you have all the materials you could possibly need. So, the only question left is, what are you going to build?